An essential aspect of the human condition is our desire and need to interact with others. We perform for each other, we talk with each other, and we unavoidably argue with each other. Now, most might think of a full-out shouting match when I use the word argue. But to argue is to persuade by appealing to character, emotion, and reason. These three appeals reveal the multifaceted nature of humanity and how we process the world and information. To understand how these appeals work together to persuade, let's look at how they are applied and misapplied in the Star Trek The Next Generation episode, The Ensigns of Command, featuring Lieutenant Commander Data, an android or artificial life form, whose core motivation is to discover what it means to be human, and in so doing, become more human than machine. Data operates from a perspective limited to reason. He has the curiosity of humans, but none of our emotions. Yet he strives to become more than his programming. As part of his efforts to learn what it means to be human, he takes up the arts, such as painting, acting, and the violin. As the episode begins, Data is about to perform in a classical music concert for the crew, but specifically for Captain Picard and Dr. Crusher. To preface his performance, he warns the audience that his performance will lack soul, that he is simply imitating the techniques of other violinists.
Come. Good doctor was kind enough to provide me with a recording of your concert. Your performance shows feeling.
I have no feeling.
Your playing is quite beautiful.
Strictly speaking, sir, it is not my playing. It is a precise imitation of the techniques of Yasha Heifetz and Trenka Bronken.
Heifetz and Bronken have radically different styles, different techniques, and yet you combine them successfully.
I suppose I have learned to be creative, sir, when necessary.
At the end of the episode, Picard rightly reminds Data that his performance creatively synthesized or combined the techniques and styles of other violinists, producing a performance that is uniquely Data. Picard implies that Data is creative in his interpretation and combination of violin techniques and styles, and creativity is at the heart of an effective argument. Human beings process arguments in three ways. We process the logic or reasoning of the argument, we process the emotion which the argument inspires, and we process the credibility or character of the one giving the argument. This is also referred to as the rhetor, the one who gives the argument. These three appeals are often depicted as the rhetorical triangle. When creatively combined into a single argument, they cater to the multidimensional nature of how humans process information. But being an artificial life form, Data does not naturally use all three appeals of the triangle, but instead relies on a single appeal, logic, otherwise known as logos. When the Enterprise receives a message from the Sheliak corporate, Picard and crew set course for the human colony Tau Cygna 5, a colony which illegally exists on a Sheliak world according to an intergalactic treaty. The Sheliak, a truly alien species, considers human beings as vermin. It would simply exterminate the colonists unless they were removed. Upon arriving, The crew realize that radiation on the planet makes it impossible for anyone to beam down to the surface except Data. Therefore, Data's mission is now to prepare the colonists for evacuation before the Sheliak arrive.
But you don't want to waste your time talking to us.
You want to speak to Goshevin?
But when Data encounters the colony leader, Goshevin, his argument, based solely on reason and fact, does not persuade anyone of the need for evacuation.
What do you want?
My mission is to prepare this colony for evacuation.
Why?
Because this planet belongs to the Sheliak.
And who is this Sheliak?
The Sheliak are a non-humanoid intelligent life form, classification R3.
Well, this colony has been here over 90 years. I'd say that makes Tau Sigma 5 our planet. Our ancestors were lucky to find any place to land. The hyperonic radiation took the lives of a third of the colonists before they learned they could adapt to it.
But our colony survived and prospered.
Your accomplishments are truly remarkable. Yet the Sheliak and the Federation have a treaty which clearly makes this planet Sheliak domain. The Sheliak wish to colonize this planet and are unwilling to share it with humans. If you are still here when the Sheliak colony ship arrives, they will eradicate you. They have little regard for human life. Thus, the most sensible course of action is to prepare a contingency plan for the evacuation of your people.
We're not evacuating.
Perhaps I have not made myself clear.
Yes, you have. There's going to be no evacuation.
Considering his failure to persuade Goshevin and the colonists to prepare for evacuation, Data alters his approach, adding an emotional appeal to his appeal to logic.
You've all heard of the android Starfleet has sent here, and you've been discussing why he's come. I called this meeting to replace misinformation with cold, hard fact.
Do you consider your position so weak that it cannot withstand a debate?
Let him speak.
You all know of the Sheliak threat. Starfleet wishes to evacuate you for your own protection. Yet Goshevin has decided otherwise. I admire your conviction. In the face of certain defeat, though doomed, your effort will be valiant. And when you die, you will die for land. Your children will understand that they are dying for a worthy cause. Long after the battle is over, their courage will be remembered.
Remembered by who?
Yes, that is true. There will be no one left alive to remember.
Synthesizing both appeals into his argument does move the needle, but again, does not fully persuade his audience of the dire circumstances and their need to evacuate. And after Goshevin attacks Data, Data realizes that humans often respond to action more than to words. So Data takes a different approach. As Data begins firing his phaser, stunning a colonist and destroying the aqueduct, he appeals to the audience's need for credibility. Data's demonstration illustrates the credibility of the Sheliak threat.
I can reduce this pumping station to a pile of debris, but I trust my point is clear. I am but one android with a single weapon. There are hundreds of Sheliak on the way. They may not offer you a target. They can obliterate you from orbit. You will die. The choice is yours.
And finally, the argument is rendered effective, combining reason, emotion, and credibility. Alone, Data's logic didn't compel the colonists to fully understand his argument. He learned to compel their emotions and their desire for credibility. Star Trek is an entertainment property meant to both entertain and generate revenue. However, it also cleverly examines the human condition, exploring what it means to be a human being. And the Ensigns of Command demonstrates that we process the world and information through at least three perspectives: through reason, emotion, and our desire for credibility. You might hear these appeals referred to in their Greek origins as ethos, character or credibility, pathos, or emotion, and logos, or logic. The next time you make an argument, I want you to consider these appeals as like the three legs of a stool. If just one leg is missing or is emphasized too much, the stool cannot function effectively. The same is true for an effective argument. It is the creative combination of these appeals which should ground all arguments. Arguments grounded in these three appeals respects the multidimensional humanity of the audience. So I challenge you to examine all future arguments from politicians, teachers, parents, pastors, whoever, for these three appeals. And if you find them lacking, just point them to the Ensigns of Command, so they can watch as Data learns the art of persuasion.